Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Vampire the Requiem Louisville / New Orleans because you guys are technically still on vacation while the werewolf problem in Louisville either calms down or you go back to Louisville and there's not a town left. And then,
Right. They're just werewolves everywhere. No
uh,
humans left.
right. You won't know that until you go back. Then you'll move to New Orleans permanently because you really won't want to be in a town that's ruled by a large pack of werewolves,
Right.
except for Sarah. And all you got to do is pack up your video equipment. You could take it to New Orleans and still do your show anyway. So, but we will pick up tonight with you guys. The sunset alarm goes off the next night. And you wake up and roll over and turn it off. And you look over at Magnus. And Magnus is still unconscious. And given this situation, most people would check to see if he was still breathing.
But
But,
he's not.
well, vampires don't.
Right. That's my point.
Right, yeah. So, be kind of useless to do that. So, at that point, what do you do?
I think I'm just going to get out of bed, go down to the kitchen and get us both some blood, bring it back upstairs and see if that'll bring him round, just smelling the blood. What, Dad? Yeah, what do we do? You want to say hi, Daddy?
Okay. So, do you throw on a robe or do you just jump out of bed and go do this?
I'll throw on a robe and go do that.
Because as I recall, you don't know. Dee Dee doesn't normally sleep in anything, does she?
No. So yeah, I'll throw on a robe.
Don't want to, surprise Chef Wong this
Right.
early in the evening. So you go down the hall into the large great hall where the kitchen is off of. And you walk into the kitchen and Chef Wong is already working on, quote, breakfast. Um, and he sees you and goes, "Oh, hi, Dee Dee. How was your night?"
Oh, it was all right. Magnus is still kind of, under the weather, I think.
Yeah, well, uh, soon as I get done with making breakfast, I'm going to make those phone calls for the uh, spell components we need. I'm hoping that my family knows where we can get them so that uh, you can just run and get them and we can get this ritual over with tonight.
Right. Well, just let me know when you've got everything settled, and I'll run out and see if I can pick them up.
Yeah. Uh,
In the meantime, I'm just gonna grab a couple of goblets of blood here.
yeah. Mm. And so you reach into the refrigerator and get the bottles of your favorite blood type and Magnus's favorite, and you pour goblets of them and then head back upstairs or head back down the hall. And you're about halfway down the hall and you hear uh, people uh, clomping around in the kitchen, and then you see Eddie and Sarah run down the hall past you. It literally looks like Eddie is chasing Sarah. They're playing, of course, but like, and you wonder to yourself how early these two got up because it's like just is sunset. So
The question is she in human form or werewolf form?
I'm gonna let the universe tell me that. She's still in human form. She's completely dressed though. She's wearing jeans and a t-shirt and tennis shoes. And like she must have been up for a while. So, what was she doing that entire time?
Right.
And then as you get to the doorway of your and Magnus's room, you see the two of them go back the other way toward the kitchen, and they're basically laughing and they're both running at full speed because, and it's odd because in human form, Sarah's got, short little 10-year-old girl legs and she's still keeping ahead of Eddie. And you hear a couple of minutes later, hear Chef Wong yelling at them about running through his
Of course.
kitchen and shit. So he's like, running around is fine, but that's for outside, not in my kitchen. And then you hear the back door close as the two of them head outside. And by the time you get back into your room with the goblets of blood, Magnus is sitting up in bed. And he's like, what was all that fuss about?
Oh, Eddie and Sarah were, I don't know, racing or something through the house. Bet you can imagine how happy that made Chef Wong.
Well, yeah, Chef Wong's voice is what I heard. And I'm like, okay, what is it this time?
Apparently, there's no running allowed in the kitchen. Who would have thought, right?
Yeah. Well, you never know what strange thing he might be working on in there. Um,
Oh, here, got you some blood.
well, thank you.
How are you feeling?
A little better than yesterday, but not a lot. I will be happy when this ritual is over and this spell is gone.
Hopefully, we'll be able to take care of that.
Because we have things to do. Mostly outside, but I can think of one particular thing on the inside, which I haven't got a chance to do since you've been down here. So, as soon as I'm better, we're going to remedy that.
Yeah, yeah, no, we just have got had a lot going on, as you know.
Yeah, and I this was supposed to be my way of getting you out of everything that was going on there, and now
Right.
and at about this time, Magnus's cell phone that's laying on the nightstand starts ringing. And he picks up the phone and basically all he says is, that's great, I'll have money wired to you by tonight. And report to me if you anytime you find something suspicious. And then he so and with that he ends the call and sets it back on the nightstand. It's like, well, those were the two Maquette's spies that I talked to. They, they have in fact decided to go to take my offer to go to work for us. So hopefully they can do some of the investigating and then report to us. And that way we can do more of the touristy stuff,
Right.
or touristy for you, normal for me. But
Some of the less, running around and getting into danger stuff, because I was sure as hell doing enough of that in Kentucky.
well, yeah, The only problem with living in New Orleans is the vampires. This town has some amazing food in it if you're human. And
Right. Or if, you're a masochistic vampire, I guess. But, yeah, once
I,
was enough of that for me.
I imagine the werewolves around town quite enjoy the different selections of food they can get to. But, but that's the same with every decent city that has good restaurants in it. If you're a vampire, you're pretty much screwed.
Right. I mean, you could always, I guess, just say, oh, fuck it, I'm going to be sick for a night. But, yeah.
Well, Magnus says I look at it another way. I go to a restaurant and just watch people. And if I see one that looks like it could be a meal for me, yeah, use it as a scouting expedition, basically. So, but the longer the spell hangs on, the sort of zaps all my energy.
Well, yeah, I understand that. And Chef Long's going, call around and find out where we can get some of these components, and then I'll run and get them. Hopefully, we'll get all this taken care of by tonight, by later tonight,
Yeah,
hopefully.
hopefully before morning. Let's put it that way.
Right, hopefully. If everything goes right, which doesn't always happen.
Yeah, well, I don't want it to run into daylight. I don't want to lose the best chef I've got or had.
Well,
And I'm
I
sure
don't think
it's,
he's going out anywhere. He's just going to make some calls.
well, yeah, but if he's doing the ritual and the sun comes up, that could be a bit of a problem for us.
Well, we'll just have to do it in here then, where we've got
And
all the, blackout curtains up and all.
plus, I don't think Sarah would like it if Chef Wong suddenly disappeared. He feeds her too well.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, now that she's got a taste for bacon.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I can see my bacon bill suddenly amounting to something.
Yeah, if she asks if we can get a pet pig, I think you'll know why.
Right. Uh, don't think we want to go quite that far. Because I don't, yeah, like she's going to put it outside with the dog. I
Oh, I don't
don't,
think it'll be around long enough to even deal with. I think she'd take care of it pretty quick.
right, yeah. The way she eats, keeping her in bacon would be cheaper because she'd eat the whole damn pig at one time. And then I'd end up having to buy pigs every day. So,
Yeah. So if she asks if she can join a 4-H program or something, I'd say no if I were you.
yeah.
I think she'd probably get kicked out for eating the animals anyway.
Uh, eating every other kid's animal.
Right.
Yeah, that would not go well. Plus, then they'd know what she was, and that is seriously not something we want.
Right.
So, do you have anywhere you have to go tonight?
Not until Chef Wong gives me a list of those ingredients, and I have to run out and pick them up. But before that, no.
Okay. I was just wondering if you were going to go out and do more investigating or not.
Uh, I wasn't planning on it. I mean, I don't want to do it by myself. And I think what we need to do right now is concentrate on getting you up and going.
Yeah, probably. We only need one sick vampire in the family.
Right.
Ingrid got there before I did, so
What, you want back out? You want back out here? Let's see. You want it back out?
I don't know that he knows where he wants to be at the moment.
He probably thought Sean had food in there.
Then when that didn't pan out, he was like, well, maybe she does. And then that didn't work either. But, and while the two of you were talking, you hear a knock on the door behind you. Even though I'm assuming the door is already open. Or did you close it when you
No, it's
run?
open.
So you hear a knock on the door behind you. And then you hear Chef Wong's voice. I made those calls I was talking about. My grandmother actually gave me a list. And he walks up to you and hands you a list of like 8 different ingredients. It's like combined with a ritual, if we combine those ingredients and make Magnus drink it, it should solve the problem.
All right, I look at the list. Like, well, can I get all these in one place, or do I have to, go to a few different shops and all? I mean, where I can get them.
They actually look pretty simple as far as ingredients go. Um, but he takes the list from you and turns it over, and on the back he writes an address for a shop in uh, the Chinatown area of New Orleans, and then hands it back to you and goes, "That's where my mother gets all her ingredients for these things."
And
And she,
so I'm thinking his mother's got to be one of us too, if she's still around.
yeah. Oh, I did what Magnus basically did.
Oh, okay.
Once I was turned, I turned my entire family. And believe me, at the time, there were plenty of objections, but I did it anyway.
Well, that's different. I just found out, in the last year that most of my family were vampires before they turned me. I didn't even know they were. Except for, my poor dad who's human. I don't think he knows any of us are vampires.
Right.
I didn't know my mom was or my aunt actually. So I
Magnus is like, that's odd that you would only turn the women in the family. He's sipping on his goblet fairly slowly.
well, I guess I'll take a shower and get on out and get these ingredients then. I have a question though. Who's going to perform this ritual? I mean, do we have anyone that actually knows how to do something like that? I look at Chef Wong, I'm like, are you going to be doing it or what?
Um, Chef Wong says, I can do it. I basically know the general structure. I will. I told my mother that once we get the ingredients, that I would call her back and she would help me set things up.
Oh, all right. Because I'm kind of, I don't know, of course, but I'm sort of assuming that if anything goes wrong, then it ain't going to be too good for Magnus. Is that correct?
Chef Wong says, if we do this ritual and something goes wrong, it's not going to be good for any of us, much less Magnus. So that's why you got to be very careful and get the right ingredients in the right amount, or bluey.
So
And
I look at the list again, and I'm assuming that he wrote the amounts down as well
right,
as the ingredient.
right.
All right.
He, he's like, being a chef, I always write down proportions and such.
Right. So I guess I'll just hand the list over then when I get there, and they're like, "That's what we need."
Right. So,
Plus, I guess he told your mom I was going to be coming at some point tonight, right?
yeah.
She'll be expecting me. All right.
And with that, he walks out of the room and back out to the kitchen.
So I guess I'm gonna finish my blood and then get on in the shower because I want to, do this as soon as possible so we
Yeah.
can get Magnus up and functional because.
Because he's like, yeah, I don't like feeling like I'm unable to do anything.
Well, plus just for a vampire, for any vampire, that's not a great feeling. No, because we're sort of, well, almost invincible. So when you're not, it's kind of disheartening, sort of.
Yeah, it is annoying to find out that you can actually still die. Everybody knows about the sunlight and the stake through the heart bit, but they don't really understand how many different ways vampires can be killed by things. most people don't think about it, but one uh, scratch from a werewolf and even a vampire has problems. So don't let Sarah accidentally scratch you or something
Right.
because,
Or don't piss her off when she's in werewolf form.
right,
Because that way it wouldn't be an accident, you know. Not that I want to think she'd do something like that to me, but you know, she's pissed off enough.
yeah.
She might.
She is a girl bordering on teenagehood, so
Right. And when you get one of those things that's kind of furry and angry, then no thanks.
yeah.
So yeah,
Teen,
so don't tell her she can't have any bacon when she's in werewolf
yeah,
form.
and always have a supply. It's like, yeah, never have to run out and, you know, desperately get it. Yeah,
And definitely don't dangle a piece in front of her and then jerk it away
right.
before she gets a hold. That would be death right there.
I could see Eddie doing that. And
That would be
that,
justifiable death,
yeah,
actually.
that that wouldn't go over as a joke very well. It's like, because she'd take the bacon and part of his arm with her. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Right. And all we'd say to her would be like, yeah, you shouldn't have done
Right.
that.
Which I think, which I think when he's sitting there missing an arm up to his elbow, he'd probably figure that one out for himself.
Right.
Uh, I should have a talk with Wong and have him uh, introduce Sarah to chocolate covered bacon. She'd probably lose her shit. Or, or more, or even like caramel covered bacon.
I was gonna say, chocolate's toxic to dogs, so how would it affect a werewolf? They are canines.
That I don't know. You might just never be able to change form again. Because it wouldn't kill you in human form. So it might just kill off the werewolf part. Think it'd be safer to keep it with caramel, though. Should be better. Because actually, not caramel. I've
Maple.
se- I've seen maple bars that had
Mm,
strips of bacon on top of them and shit. She'd probably love that.
mm. I
And,
would love that. I've had a maple donut with bacon
right.
crumbled on it. That's fucking good.
They do that at, in fact, there's a donut shop in New Orleans that actually does that.
Mm,
And they do it at pretty much all the state fairs now. It's like a staple of killer food.
right, nice healthy, health food. Maple bacon donut.
Couple of those would kill a vampire just from the calorie intake. Like 1,000 calories a piece. It's like, but he says, well, Magnus says, well, I hope finding them is fairly easy and you don't have to spend all day running around trying to get them. Do you want me to get a hold of the chauffeur and have her bring the limo around, or how do you want to do that?
Well, that might be better than taking one of your cars and driving myself, because, like, I don't know how safe Chinatown is to park a car for any length of time.
Yeah, if you take the limo, at least the chauffeur will be there to
Right.
guard the car.
I think that would probably be the way to go.
Uh, so as you're going to head out, tell Chef Wong to call the shop ahead, and that way they won't be surprised when this limo pulled up in the parking lot.
All right.
And you both finish your blood, and he sets up long enough to grab you and pull you on top of him and goes, "You be very careful while you're out there, because whatever attacked Ingrid is still out there too." So,
Right. And at this point, it it or whoever called it up may actually know we're on its tail, is what I'm kind of thinking. So
it's possible.
I'd probably better be extra careful because of that.
Yeah, it very well could be.
Just considering that, when we got to the campus last night, it was whoever and whatever was there was gone. Kind of makes me think they knew we were coming after it.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking whoever summoned this thing has enough brains to at least know what he was doing, because they happen to have worded the pages of the book, and that's not done by somebody who's just randomly playing around.
Right.
So, so whoever this is probably does know that we're at least looking for them.
Which means they know who we are. So, yeah, I'll be careful.
Well, that's somewhat of a issue if we were going to end up together anyway, because my family is actually rather well known in this town, so it's not a hard thing to know where I am, because I have the nicest house in New Orleans at this point. So I think that's why it may have gone after Ingrid, because they know who this family is. And
Right. And I'm assuming all this has something to do with what's going on with the police chief, but I still haven't figured out all that connection, but I'm sure there is one.
yeah, I'm sure. But
Well, anyway, you be careful too, because, much as I hate to admit it, you are not up to par right now.
he's like, no, the blood helped, but I think I'm basically gonna go back to sleep until you get back with the herbs and whatever you have to bring.
Good. And I'll tell Chef Wong to check in on you periodically too, or Eddie, one of them, make sure you're all right.
Yeah, that way
Although I think Eddie's got his hands full with Sarah.
yeah. And that's adorable though. It's like,
Oh, hell, maybe I'll have Hanley babysit you if he's not doing anything else. He's just kind of hanging around, isn't he?
yeah, the only time he does anything is when something comes up with his strip club, and then he either has to go there or figure out whatever it is on the phone. So, but I haven't heard him wandering around today as of yet either. So I hope he's got everything under control. But at least we know if Eddie has this much fun with Sarah, if the wedding she talks about does happen, at least Eddie will be okay with Munchkins if they should ever have any.
Right. And chances are they won't be werewolves. So, which leads me to ask, can vampires have kids? I mean, we are dead, so I wouldn't think so.
Not generally, no. It's one of the upsides, actually. But no, I don't know how that works, however, with werewolves. So, I'm assuming Sarah could have a small pack of little werewolves if she wanted one. But
Well, I think she's too young to be thinking about that right now.
yeah, and whoever she ends up having them with is in for a surprise. Yeah. Sarah starts out in human form, but by the time they're done, she ends up in werewolf form.
Yeah, that might kill the mood pretty quick.
Yeah. Plus,
if, if your
plus,
partner's suddenly all hairy and it's got fangs and claws and things.
might kill the mood. Plus, the guy. It's like,
Right.
yeah. I'm going to instruct the security detail to, you know, start teaching Sarah more werewolf type, proper werewolf, you know.
Werewolf etiquette 101.
Yeah, basically. And because she's gonna need to know that as she gets older. She's only a little kid now.
Well, I imagine the very first thing you need to know was the same thing we had to learn is don't let humans know what you are.
Yeah, that's actually rule number one in any non-human community.
Right, well, that's what I meant. First thing we had to learn was that too. It's like, yeah, keep it on the DL.
They don't have the food issues that we have, which that's easier. But they do tend to go around, you know. I've seen werewolves in fields take down farmers' livestock and stuff. So you've got to teach her not to do that sort of thing.
Right. Well, hell, we got honestly got to teach her not to eat like she does around us in public too. Because I
Well,
mean, what's a normal person gonna think when they see a little 10-year-old girl eat 2 pounds of bacon?
right.
I mean, or a whole, half a cow. That's not normal.
And do it with it being raw at the time. Yeah. This little 10-year-old girl looks up and there's like blood running down her face and all that. She's
Right. I
got
mean, it's like
she's got this big smile on her face. It's like,
I works in a house full of vampires, but when you're on humans, that ain't gonna fly
no,
too well.
uh-uh. And I don't know of any restaurant in town where you can order half a cow and they'll bring it to you. Uh, so, yeah.
No, I can't think of anything like that either.
Now she could go if she was into seafood. She could go to a lobster restaurant and just start chucking lobsters, but they wouldn't be quite as surprised by that. But
Well, unless you started taking them out of the tank and eating
right?
them
Yeah.
straight, then they might kind of look at her like, "What the hell are you doing, kid?"
It's like I want that one, and don't bother to cook it.
Right? She just grabs and tears off the claws and
Right?
turns
Yeah.
in like,
Yeah. That would be a bit off-putting to the other restaurant customers. It's like,
Not to mention the poor lobsters.
right? Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's got to be worse than being thrown live into boiling water.
yeah, yeah, because eventually, when they're boiled, they die. She just pulled off the claws and starts chewing, they're
That
gonna.
reminds me, in one of my shows, I got to do my lobster bisque. I do a good one.
There you go. I hope you don't run out of reruns before you get back there.
Yeah, it's kind of looking like we might be here a little longer than we thought. And still not a word about Marcy and how she's doing. Hopefully they'd let us know if she kicked it.
No, I'm hoping they'd let us know either way
Yeah.
if she got worse or if she got starts improving.
Of course, if she got worse and got loose and then killed everybody, then I guess they wouldn't let us know. So, kind of hoping that's not the case. I mean, I know firsthand she can get violent.
Well, yeah, actually, you should have the person that's in charge of your reruns. That the girl you
Kylie?
were, yeah, you should have her go down to the hospital where Marcy is and check on her for you.
Yeah, I don't really want to put her in danger. Maybe I can have her go with uh is it Jarvis or Corvus. Maybe
Yeah.
I ought to have Corvus take her down there.
Or you could wait till the next time Hanley has to do something at the strip club and then he could he could help her.
Well, she works for Corvus, so it would make sense to have them go together.
Yeah. If Corvus has the time.
Right.
Because I imagine the Prince of Louisville is a bit busy right now.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
So your reps down there might be a little, or up there might be a little busy too. Speaking of reps and busy and all that, while you're gone, I think I'm going to give the Prince a call because what's going on here is getting stranger and stranger as it goes.
Well, all right, but then you need to rest.
Oh, I probably won't be talking to him too long because just like the Prince in Louisville, the Prince here is probably pretty busy. If he knows anything about what's been going on recently, he's probably busy trying to handle that. And then he puts his goblet down and he's like, you know what? I'll take a nap till you get here. And then when you get here, I'll call the Prince. 'Cause I think I need more sleep before I have to deal with the Prince. So,
All right, so I'll go take a shower and get ready, and then I'll go down and have Chef Wong call the limo round.
by the time you walk out of the shower, uh, Magnus is asleep. That's one of the interesting things about vampires. When they're asleep, you can't tell if they're alive or not because their skin's all gray and they don't breathe anyways.
Well, even when they're awake, when we're awake, we're not alive. So
Right. So,
chances are it's not.
but you see him shift, so you know that he's still alive. He's just asleep. And then you hear Chef Wong yelling again from the kitchen.
I guess I better go see what that's about. See if I need to, bail Sarah and Eddie out of hot water or something.
Yeah.
Of course, if it's a vendor, then well, I guess I'll just let them deal with them.
Well, so
Because
you
chances
walk.
are, if it's a vendor, they got themselves into some shit anyway, and it's their fault.
Yeah. So you walk down the hall to the kitchen. And you see Eddie and Sarah wrestling around in the side yard. At this point, Sarah's uh, taken werewolf form, and they've got a hold of each other. They're on the ground and they're just wrestling around like you would with a large dog. But actually, give me a a wits and intelligence roll.
Oh, botched it. No successes, but I got a 1.
Well, so with all this stuff going on, you're not really, you see Sarah and Eddie, but you're not really paying attention until you hear a large crack. And then you look out the window and they've they're actually rolling around and play fighting to the point that it took out the bottom half of one of the uh, boards of the privacy fence. And that's what Chef Wong was yelling about.
So when I notice this, I'm going to yell, hey, I'm going to let you two mention that to Magnus. I'm not going to say anything, but one of you's going to have to tell him what you just did.
Okay. Mm.
I'm sort of laughing too, because
Yeah. Sarah's in werewolf form, so you don't really see a change in emotion on her face. But Eddie's like, probably end up being another thing he'll make me fix.
oh, and yeah, if you want my advice, I'd tell him when he's not. I tell him before we do the ritual when he's not full strength, just just to be on the safe side.
Eddie stops for a second. Goes, I hadn't thought about that. Could you see? And he goes, part of the reason I was wrestling around with Sarah anyway is that she um, sort of dropped my little secret about the chauffeur.
Yeah, she kind of did.
Yeah. And he's like, do you think I should go have a conversation with Magnus about that before he gets back to full strength or what?
Oh, probably wouldn't hurt.
Mm. Mm.
Speaking of the chauffeur, I'm going to leave the limo.
Right.
So I
Oh,
mean, you can go tell her that, or I can have one call her, or I don't know. I mean,
oh, oh. He gets up. Uh, Currently, while he's been talking to you, he's been laying on the ground with Sarah on top of
oh,
him.
no,
I didn't know. I guess he thought I wasn't even.
oh, you didn't make any noise. You want it back in? Okay. You here? You in here now? Okay.
Dog doesn't know what it wants tonight. Because up till now, you've been talking to Eddie, and he's been flat on his back with Sarah sitting on his chest. And so he tickled both sides of her ribs, and she rolled off of him to get away from him, and he's able to get back up. And he pulled his cell phone out of his pocket and calls the chauffeur and tells her that you need the limo brought around. And he goes, she should be here in a couple of minutes. So if you've got to grab anything before you go, now's the time to do it.
All right, so let's go back in real quick and ask Wong to call his mother and tell her, we'll be showing up in a limo, so don't,
Yeah.
freak out or anything.
And he says, yeah, not a problem. Call her now and she should be ready and waiting by the time you get there.
All right, so then I guess I'll go out front and wait for the limo to come around.
And as you're walking out the door, Wong says, oh, and I'll have her go ahead and round up the stuff you're looking for. So it'll be waiting for you.
All right, thanks.
And he says, you should go talk to Magnus and tell him you're leaving. Plus, is he paying for this or you paying out of your own pocket for this?
Well, he's kind of asleep right now, so I guess I'll pay out of my own pocket. I've got some money.
Okay. Just wondered. So you go back out in the yard and Eddie has gotten himself into more difficulty because now Sarah's on his back like piggyback, but also the dog's been let out. So he has Sarah on his back and the dog is basically standing right next to him, sort of growling, wanting him to put Sarah back down on the ground. And he turns to the dog and goes, I didn't do this, she did this.
Right.
Yeah. And about that time, the limo pulled into the circular driveway and the chauffeur hops out of the car and she opens the back door. She opens the passenger side door in the back for you to get in.
I guess I'll hop on in then.
And she turned her head as you're getting in and sees what Eddie and Sarah are doing and just chuckles slightly. It's like, so see what happens when he doesn't have enough to keep him busy.
Oh, I think she's keeping him plenty busy.
Yeah, probably not the way he was thinking, though. And she's like, and where can I take you at the moment?
I'm going to Chinatown and I'll give her the address of the shop.
Okay, I've never been to this address, but we can find it. And you two take off. The limo goes around the circular drive and heads down the street. And while she's driving, uh, she asks you, uh, "Where's Where's Magnus? I haven't seen him in a couple of nights."
Oh, well, he's still in bed. He kind of got zapped by a spell pretty bad last night. So that's what I'm doing. What's why I need to go to Chinatown to get some ingredients and components to, put together a ritual to get him back on his feet.
Oh, yeah. Magnus been messing with magic, has he?
Well, not intentionally, but yeah, it kind of turned out that way.
Well, that's not good.
Not so much, no.
um, she's like, we don't need Magnus to be sick. He's the
No, I'm
one.
sure he doesn't need that either.
He's the one that pretty much runs the place. So it's like, although if you ask Chef Wong, you'll get a different answer, but because Chef Wong thinks he actually runs the place.
Well, I will say Chef Wong definitely runs the kitchen. I mean, that's his thing.
Yeah, that's why I stay out with the cars.
Oh, probably not too bad an idea. He can get pretty, well, Chef Wongy.
Well, the cars don't yell at people, so it's like
Right.
whenever I know he's gonna yell at somebody, I just send Eddie in. He can yell at Eddie all he wants. So it takes you a little bit to get there because of evening rush hour traffic, but eventually you pull up to this uh, little Oriental style house that has the pointed roof and the uh, points on the four corners, and uh, you're not sure how they managed it, but they found outdoor siding for the house that looks like one of those red and gold rugs that they have inside. Like you've probably seen them in Chinese restaurants. The red and gold wallpaper and carpets.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they managed to find vinyl house siding that looked like this.
Oh,
So the whole house looked like this. and you walk up to the door and you knock on the door, and within a couple of minutes, hey, she's probably 4'11", and she's thin. And she's probably in the neighborhood of maybe 800 years old.
And she's probably just as formidable as Chef Wong, if not more so.
And she introduces herself as Violet. And she holds the door open and invites you in. She's like, I'm Violet. I'm Chef Wong's mother. He called me last night. Before I give you the ingredients for this, what did you guys get yourself into?
Oh, some sort of nasty spell or curse or something. It was a word. It was a book that'd been worded. I mean, Magnus looked at the page he wasn't supposed to and zap, you know.
Oh, that's not good.
No.
That sort of thing is why I tell Wong to stay in the kitchen. It's safer in there. But I think I have all the ingredients you need to counteract this. And she hands you a paper bag full of things, and it has some serious, actually some weight to it. There's a lot of ingredients in this bag. And sitting on top of it is a folded piece of paper. She's like, here are the ingredients for the ritual, and if Wong needs any help, I've written down the counter ritual for it. That's the folded piece of paper on top.
All right.
And tell Magnus it's been a while, and be nice to have the two of you come over for dinner some night.
Well, thank you. I'll mention that to him. And, I gotta tell you, your son is quite the chef. He can do some amazing things with blood. I'm
Yeah,
sure you know that. Yeah, hell, he probably learned from you. I don't know.
yeah. In fact, he did. When you've been teaching somebody to cook for close to half a century, they eventually start picking things up.
I might even have him show me some tricks, and I could do an episode of stuff I can actually eat. An underground episode that only airs.
Oh, yeah. Wong mentioned your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, when I was alive, I was a chef, so I mean, old habits die hard, I guess.
It's like I'm an old lady. I don't really do a lot of computer stuff.
I think the whole not eating human food's a little harder on me than most because I am a chef.
Right. It's been so long for me that I don't even remember it much anymore. Eventually, the urge for real food fades.
I've actually given in a few times more than I'd like to admit.
That generally doesn't work out very well.
No, not so much.
And you end up doing that one too many times, and then you're like, maybe I shouldn't do this again. Oh, and tell my son that he owes me a dinner for this.
Oh God, I will definitely pass that along.
In fact, tell him that when Magnus is better, he needs to invite me over for dinner.
All right.
It's nice to get out of the shop every now and again. And with that, she hands you the bag.
So how much I owe you for all this?
Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. Just tell Wong that he owes me a dinner at Magnus's with all my favorite uh, variations on blood.
Okay, I will. Sounds good. I'll let him know. Thank you.
Not a problem. I hope it works.
I do too.
If it doesn't, come back to me and we'll figure out other things.
Well, if it doesn't work, I hope it just, doesn't work and it doesn't, I hope Magnus doesn't explode or something.
I, unless I'm way off, I don't think that's gonna happen.
All right.
Uh,
Because, I mean, there's not working and then there's not working.
hopefully that does not occur.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah, 'cause even though we're vampires, we haven't figured out a way to put ourselves back together yet. Which we should, considering how many hundreds of years we've been dealing with this crap.
Right. Well, I mean, the whole point is to not need to be put back together, I think.
Yeah, it's not high on most people's list. But then again, it depends on how stupid you actually are. So. And Magnus is a pretty good boy, although he does make a mistake here and there. Let's hope this isn't one of them.
Well, I guess you're gonna have to be really careful around books from now on. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, of all the things that you really wouldn't think would be too dangerous, but
Well, it depends on who the book originally belonged to.
and who's been messing with it, I guess.
Yeah, the book itself is fine. The person who worded the pages did it for a certain reason.
Yeah, well, I guess it kind of served its purpose.
Yeah, which means there's somebody out there that knows vampires are looking at the book.
Right. I mean, I imagine it would have done that. Well, I don't really know. What would it have done to a human if they'd looked at a book? Would it have done the same thing, or would it have just killed them outright?
A word like that would have killed them. If there was enough energy in it to do what it did to Magnus, it would have charbroiled an actual human, which is something you don't want to see.
Yeah, I'd rather not. Might put me off my appetite for a little while.
Well, believe me, you're still a young one. If you survive to get to Magnus's or my age, you will have seen, or Wong's age, you will have seen everything by then. There's very little left to be surprised by when you're 800 years old.
I can imagine.
So, but in fact, I have to get back to a ritual I'm working on for another customer in the back. So,
Yeah, well, thank you for your help and ingredients and all, and let Wong know that if he needs any help, to call mommy.
and
And I'll
definitely,
tell him there's you're due for dinner.
yeah, and definitely if um, it doesn't work, definitely come back.
All right, will do.
Good to meet you. I'm sure we'll see each other again.
I imagine so.
Especially if you're going to be hanging around Magnus for any amount of time. She escorts you to the front door, gives you a little friendly hug, and then heads back into the shop to go into the back. And upon seeing you walk out of the building, the chauffeur gets out of the front driver's side and is standing there waiting for you to get to the limo. And when you get there, she opens the uh, passenger side in the back. Would you like me to put the bag in the trunk, or do
Oh,
you
sure,
want?
might as well.
She takes the bag uh, as you're getting in the car and getting settled and puts it in the trunk. She comes back just before she closes the door. She says, "Well, how did that go?"
Well, got the ingredients we needed, so I'd say it went pretty well. Guess we ought to head on home and try to get this ritual taken care of.
Yeah. Wonder if by the time we get back, if Magnus will be awake.
Well, if he's not, I guess we better wake him up, because
Yeah, 'cause I haven't ever heard of a ritual done on a sleeping person.
right, and this is for his benefit. So,
So, um, you get in the back, and once all the doors are locked, she goes around and gets in the driver's side. And pretty soon you're moving back down the streets. Um, it's a little later now, so there's a little more traffic with people getting on and off work. Um, but even with that, within 20 minutes, you're pulling back into the circle drive at Magnus's house. And the chauffeur jumps out and opens your door for you. And you climb out. And while you're standing there, she goes over, opens the trunk, grabs the bag, and walks back over and hands it to you. And she goes, after you guys do the ritual, let Eddie know how it went. He will then relay that to me.
all right.
'Cause
Oh, just a heads up. Speaking of relaying things to people, you and Eddie may have something to relay to Magnus.
and what would that be?
Oh, the little thing between you two.
And she looks somewhat surprised. She's like, how did you find out about that?
Oh, I saw you two together, and another heads up. So did the little wolf.
Oh, so this is Sarah's doing.
Yeah, she might have said something
Said.
about a wedding.
And this really surprised her because Eddie hasn't said anything about that yet.
Well, I mean, she's a little kid, so she jumped to things like that.
Well, yeah, I guess little girls do that, but guess we got to be a little more careful around her for her so she doesn't, come up with any more far-fetched ideas.
Right.
Well, now I'm gonna have to actually talk to Eddie about this. Uh, but like I said, when the ritual's done, let me know some in some form, whether it worked or not.
Oh, of course.
Because I don't want my boss to die on me.
Oh, nobody wants that.
That would sort of make me have to go get another job, and I don't want to do that.
Which leads me to wonder how soon will we know whether it worked or not? I mean, will we know immediately whether it worked, or will it take a while, or?
That's something you can ask Chef Wong if you like, because I have no idea. But if he's doing the ritual, he would probably know one way or the other. So at that point, you head into the house with a bag, and she closes your door and gets in the limo and pulls it back around to where it normally is.
So I'll head into the kitchen with a bag and I'll tell Chef Wong, hey, I got your Eye of Newton, toe of frog, whatever, holes in here.
He says, oh, that's just the beginning. And it's also a bad influence of the movies that you people watch.
I know, that's Shakespeare. That ain't a movie.
Well,
And who knows, that guy probably, had some dealing with people like us for all we know.
well, I've been around since he was around. He just drank a lot.
Oh, as did Edgar Allan Poe. I bet you knew him too, huh?
Yeah, because he lived here for a while on the seedier side of town. But
Well,
yes,
yeah.
and Shakespeare would get drunk and then take bets about plays and stuff. One of his plays was written because of a bet that he lost. So, but he didn't seem to be all that happy of a guy. Poe was easier to party with.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Poe wasn't so happy himself.
Yeah, but you just have to look at a bottle of bourbon and he'd be at the bar.
Well, yeah, of course. That and opium, he liked that shit too. So
Well, that stuff will kill humans. It just makes vampires kind of strange. Even if you smoke it all night, you just end up kind of seeing shit. And like, but, and then as you're talking, he's sorting through the bag of ingredients and he sees the letter on top. Holds it up and goes, opens it up and reads it and goes, oh, yeah, this is Mom's handwriting.
yeah, she says the counter spell in case things go wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, apparently once Magnus is better and everything, you owe your mom a dinner. She wants to come over here and have dinner with us that you prepare. She said something about her favorite blood things.
Oh, okay. She hasn't been over in quite some time. I'm sure Magnus would like to see her, and uh, if everything holds the way it has been, she'll fall in love with Sarah, and then, you know, although she's actually more of an old school vampire than even I am. So, given the fact that Sarah's a werewolf, she might be a little iffy about that in the beginning, at least.
Oh, but she's just a cute little girl.
Yeah, but vampires and werewolves have been at each other's throats literally for centuries. So,
Right, I guess there's no way we could, tell Sarah to just stay in human form, and your mom would probably still know,
right, they can, vampires can smell other vampires and they can sense other non-human creatures. So,
huh? So we couldn't, like make a T-shirt that says "Not a werewolf."
make a t-shirt that says, I am definitely not a werewolf.
Right.
Yeah. No, that probably wouldn't go over very well. Might might get a chuckle out of her, but that's about it.
Especially if Sarah, changes into a werewolf while
Right.
wearing it.
That's pretty much gonna shred your average t-shirt. It's like, yeah. Maybe if Sarah does the, jump up in her lap thing, it might, because don't think mom's had kids for a couple of centuries now.
Well, at least not since she's been a vampire.
Oh, she, yeah, yeah, because vampires can't have kids, so yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things about being dead, I guess.
Dead sort of slows things down. Although, I know how you could get her to like Sarah. If Sarah asked her to teach her how to cook,
Oh, yeah.
she'd probably be all over that.
Of course, then we'd have Sarah down here in the kitchen bothering you all hours of the day
Yeah,
making food. While you're sleeping in the daytime, she'd be making a mess of your kitchen.
that's true. If she ever was gonna cook in my kitchen, I'd have to teach her how to clean up after herself because
Yeah, which is
she's
something all 10-year-old girls are going to want to do, right?
right. Yeah.
Her idea of cleaning up would probably be to put all the dirty dishes in the sink instead of, leaving them on the counters.
Well, that's some improvement. I think she'd have a bit of a problem because she might not be able to reach the stove all that well.
Oh, there is that.
But
Does it look like everything's here, ingredient wise and everything?
Yeah, as you guys are casually chatting, he's been looking at the letter and uh, going through the bag, and he's like, "Yep, looked like Mom was able to get a hold of everything." Um, I think you need to go get Magnus up so that we can decide where we want to do this at.
All right. Have you checked in on him? How's he doing? Still asleep?
Yeah, the couple of times that I've walked down the hall since you've been gone, he hasn't made a sound, so he's still unconscious.
Okay, well, I'll go see if I can get him up.
Because I don't think we want to do this ritual like in the dining room or whatever, so
Or you could just come on with me to the bedroom and we can wake him up and do it there. That might be the best thing.
there's probably enough room in your bedroom. Gotta get the ingredients and some candles and hoping we don't end up burning the carpet in your bedroom all up, but
Well, even if you do, I think he'll forgive you if it works.
that's true.
So why don't you get this stuff all together and I'll try to wake him up and let him know you're going to come on in, all right?
Okay. So you walk down the hall to your and Magnus's bedroom. Then he is still asleep slash unconscious when you get there. To wake him, how are you gonna wake him up?
Well, I guess I'll take him by the shoulder and try to shake him gently.
Um, give me an athletics roll for that.
Okay. Ah, a success.
1.
Yeah.
Okay. So you shake him, his shoulder gently. And one of his hands goes up to your wrist where you're shaking him. And he doesn't move your wrist, he doesn't move your hand, but he does wrap his hand around your wrist. Not anything. Yeah. Violent or malicious. He just does that. And his eyes open. But instead of being the normal grayish ice blue, they're red.
That's different.
And he turns to you and says in a rather harsh whisper, I think this is getting worse.
Well, we're ready to do the ritual right now. Wong's just gathering up a few things and it's gonna come on in here and we're just gonna do the ritual right here. If you're ready, I guess you need to be awake.
Well, and in that same rough whispered tone, he's like, well, I'm awake. I can't really guarantee what shape I'm in, but I'm awake.
Well, hopefully once we do this ritual, you'll be in better shape.
Yeah, because right now I have a large urge to eat a large amount. And I'm not just talking blood. So something out of the ordinary is definitely going on.
I mean, if you're not talking blood, what are you like talking? What do you mean?
Well, and he sort of chuckles to me. What I'm feeling is something akin to if Sarah would look at Wong and see nothing but a large slab of food.
Okay.
Uh, and considering I like the staff and I like having Sarah around, even though she's going to be more and more of a bit of trouble as she gets older. And I definitely like having you around. I get the distinct feeling that if this doesn't work, there could be trouble.
You mean you sort of attack somebody and eat them? Is that what you're saying?
That's basically what I'm feeling right now.
Well, I'm going to step away from the bed a little bit.
Like, I don't know what this is. I've never been hit with a magical spell before, so I'm not really sure what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting this, honestly. I thought it was just, making you wake or something. But Chef Wong will be in here in a minute or two with the candles and all that stuff. So hopefully we can get this started pretty soon.
Well, actually, as you finish your sentence, you see Wong standing behind you in the doorway. Everything all right in here?
I don't know if I'd say all right exactly, but I kind of have a feeling we ought to get the show on the road here.
And at that comment, Magnus smiled and says, yeah, because I do have a bit of a taste for Chinese tonight.
And I'm sure Wong's, looking a little nervous at that.
Well, Wong doesn't know what the conversation has been between the two of you. He's like, oh, Magnus wants, you know, Chinese spice blood or whatever.
Right. So I decide to kind of smooth things over. I'm like, oh yeah, Chinese sounds perfect for tonight. Well, so why don't we just kind of do the ritual and then you can get started on that, all right, Chef Wong?
And he looks at you sort of funny and steps up to you and goes, what's been going on while I was before I got here?
Oh, things this whatever he was hit with, something it seems to be progressing, and he's hungry, like hungry, like kind of werewolf type of hungry rather than vampire type of hungry.
Ah,
Yeah, so I think we better get this taken care of as soon as possible.
so when he said he had an urge for Chinese, he meant me, right?
I think so. Thinking that might kind of be what he was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. We're not going there.
Well, no, I mean, honestly, I don't want to lose the best chef I've ever met.
He's like, yep, you probably have met the best chef you're ever gonna meet. Then you came back over here. Because everything I learned from her.
Yeah, she did mention that.
Yeah. Yeah, she love her to death, but she doesn't tend to let me forget that.
And let me guess, anything you make for her isn't quite up to her standards, right?
Unless her standards have changed, yes. Which is why I'm always like, why do you keep wanting me to invite you to dinner? Because you always say you like my food and then you give me 10 suggestions on how to fix it. I'm like,
Well, that's just being a mother, I think.
well, yeah. But imagine that going on for,
Millennia. Yeah.
yeah, that's why she doesn't come over often.
Well, maybe if you told her that, she'd cool off on it a little. Maybe.
You know, or it would just piss her off more.
Oh, and if judging by the way you get when you're pissed off, I don't know if I don't want to see her pissed off.
Why did you think I learned to react that way? Compared to her when she's upset, I'm fairly calm.
Well, that's a little scary. Don't think I'd want to see her upset in that case.
Right. Oh, well, I'm glad you got a chance to meet her. Hopefully you don't need to ever go over there again, but
Well, I imagine I'll be seeing her when she comes over for dinner.
yeah, but being at Magnus's house, she can't really say anything unless what I cook is an absolute disaster, and then
Well, I can't see that happening.
I don't either, but I never know what mood my mother is in.
Well, she did say if this doesn't work that I had to go back over and talk to her, but hopefully if this doesn't work I'd be, able to do that.
Yeah, because this is going to take a rather stout energy uh, energy outlay, which means we all have to stand as far away from him as possible.
Oh, I was kind of planning on doing that anyway, because, as much as I like the idea of being eaten by Magnus in certain terms, there's other
Uh,
ways I wouldn't so much enjoy it.
Yeah, because we're basically going to end up blasting him with a combination of everything in his bag plus more energy than he was hit with to begin with. So,
Okay, and is there anything, I need to do in all this, or should I just kind of stand back and let you run the ritual, or what?
I will do it. I will teach you to do it if you'd like. Um, but your main job for now is to keep um, Eddie and Sarah clear of this
Okay, all right, I can do that.
because there's going to be enough energy floating around that they're going to know something is going on. They're
Well, I mean,
just,
for that matter, I could probably just, lock the door here and
yeah. And he reaches into the bag and he goes, well, I'll get started on this. Actually, what you could do is take your cell phone, call Eddie, tell him what's going on, and that he needs to keep Sarah away from this, no,
all right.
no matter what happens.
Okay, so I'll do that. I'll call him up, and when he answers, I'll tell him, "Hey, Eddie, we're gonna do that ritual now. Trying to get Magnus back on, you know, on his feet and all. But
Yeah,
we're gonna need you to take care of the kid. Keep her away from the room and everything. I mean, I've got the door locked, but you need to keep her well away from here because Chef Wong says there's gonna be a lot of energy flying around. So,
okay, I can do that. Uh,
hey, I know. Why don't you take her on into the kitchen and find her something to eat? That ought to keep her occupied.
at least for 5-10 minutes. Uh,
Yeah.
that's a good idea, and if you need me for anything, call me.
All right. Hopefully Wong's got it all, under control here, but if I need you, I will.
And Wong says, if I don't have it under control, you can blame my mother later. Because I certainly didn't mess anything up. It was all her fault.
All right. So, just tell me one thing before you get started on this.
Yeah.
Well, you ever done this ritual before?
Mm, 4 or 5 times.
All right. So, that actually, I'm feeling a little bit better about it now. Then,
But I do it about once every 100 years or so.
well, it's at least nice to know that nobody's getting zapped more frequently than that. I guess. So anyway, I guess I'll just kind of stand on back and let you get to it. Try not to get in your way and all.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you can watch and learn how to do it. Just you have to do, do what I tell you to do
Right,
and
of course.
get back when I tell you to do. Yeah. And he actually digs in the bottom of the bag and pulls out a black piece of chalk and starts. He's like, this isn't going to show up on the carpet. So, what I'm going to do is write symbols on the walls and try and contain whatever this is in this room until I can get rid of it. So he goes to each wall and writes different runes on each wall. And then he goes back and says, well, that should cover the containment field. Now to deal with Magnus.
I do have one more quick question. By getting rid of it, I mean if you manage to, if everything works all right, this whatever this is will actually be gone, right? It's not going to jump from Magnus into one of us, right?
No, because the energy from the counter spell will basically destroy the energy from the original ward.
Oh, all right. Sounds good.
Nobody here should be hit with anything unless you accidentally do what Magnus did before I have a chance to neutralize that.
Okay, well I'll stay back then. And we'll just go on and blast Magnus like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. So when he gets the last symbol on the wall, he takes the letter from his mother and he reads the words that she wrote down. And all of a sudden, you see the runes and glyphs on the walls start glowing. All of them from all 4 sides of the room. And give me another wit and intelligence roll.
Okay. No, you do not jump away from me there. One of my dice tried to escape. Okay. Oh, we got 2 10s. And that's neat. So 3 successes altogether.
Um, where, where, okay. Now give me an intelligence and occult roll.
Intelligence and occult. Okay. That's 2 successes.
Well, as you look at the runes on the wall that have started glowing, there's something in the back of your head that tells you at some point in this life you have seen these things before. You have this instinctual feeling that you know what he's doing. So he light after the symbols start to glow, he sits down on the floor and lights one candle for each direction. And once that's done, he sits down in the center of them and reads what his mother wrote. And he does this slowly so that words are very clear. And then when he gets done, all of the symbols on the wall are glowing a cobalt blue color. And you see this thing that almost looks like a cloud, but it's indoors. And he turns to you really quick and says, "That's what we need to contain." That's what has Magnus in this condition.
All right. So how do we contain it?
Um, he says the easiest way to do that is to draw another rune on the wall. That it's a rune that dispels energy and somewhat organizes the chaos of the energy where it'll be easier to handle.
All right. So I'm thinking you're not talking just like drawing a dick on the wall or something.
No,
Yeah, I might have gone through a little bit of a rebellious phase as a preteen.
Just don't tell Sarah any of your stories, okay?
No, she's a little young.
Even when she's not. As Wang recites more of the ritual, you see this blue, this cobalt blue orb almost form above Magnus's head. And then, as a way to disperse it, Wang moves it slowly until it's over Magnus's chest. And at this point, Magnus is not laying completely still. It's almost like he's fighting this to some degree.
Or the whatever zapped him is.
Yeah. And as the last part of the ritual, as Wong completes that, you see this blue orb of energy enter Magnus through his nose, which, if he wasn't completely awake before, he is now. And with every word that Wong says, Magnus turns a brighter blue color.
Not yet, so I know it's almost food time. He's squeaking at me. Oh, it's 2 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. We'll break after the ritual so you can go feed him. And as he gets to the bottom of the page, and Magnus's entire body turns the same cobalt blue as the energy orb was when it was above his head. And a couple of minutes after that, Magnus sort of slumps over, and the energy orb comes out of him, but at this point it's white instead of cobalt blue. And seeing this, Wang does the end of the ritual where he closes it, and the orb disappears. And he stands up and he says, if that didn't break this spell, I don't know what. I don't know what will.
Right, so I guess I'll look over at Magnus and I'll be like, so how are you feeling?
Um, you can see the blue color slowly dissipating. He says, I'm not quite sure yet because I don't know um, what, I'm not sure what was my energy and what was the energy that just dissipated. All I know is I feel very strange at this point. He says, you remember the pins and needles feeling when you were human?
Like when you got a limb that's asleep? Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, my entire body feels like that.
So I sort of look sideways at Chef Wong and I'm like, you still feel like eating the chef here?
A little bit, but not as much as I did.
Oh, you're safe, Wong. Just maybe you'll lose an arm or a leg or something, but it don't gonna kill you. I'm sure Wong's real happy with me right now.
He's like, is that really an upgrade? I know. You know how lousy it is for a chef without arms?
Yeah, I could probably imagine.
Yeah.
Well, you'd better go feed the dog, or he's legit
Yeah.
gonna eat me. So
Yeah. All the energy went into him, and now he's going to eat you.
yeah.
We'll take a break for 20 minutes so that Robin can feed the furry creature, and we'll be right back. Let me pause this real quick.